What is up guys, welcome back to another SPViz video. In this one we're back on the 404SX, and although we're on the 404SX, this will probably apply to most SP units. I'm going to talk today about mixing, so the title of this I'm just going to call it Basic Mixing Tips because I'm no expert when it comes to mixing. I've noticed that my beats are slowly getting better on Ableton with the levels and mixing and all that kind of thing, but yeah, I'm by no means an expert, and mixing is an art in itself really. So making beats is like a skill in itself, mixing and mastering is a skill in itself. And on SP units as well, we have very little options if you don't want to use a DAW to help you make your beats. If you're wanting to stay completely DAW-less, you've got very, very limited options. So that's why I've basically called this Basic Mixing Tips, because there's nothing really advanced you can do with the SP. There's some things you can do to help make your beat sound fuller and better, but yeah, there's not a great deal you can do. So just quickly before I start, I'm going to have some brand new merchandise coming out soon, which should be on the screen right now. That's a new t-shirt that I've designed, which is exactly the same font and layout as the captions that I use on my YouTube videos, so that's kind of like a nice tie-in. So yeah, that's the caption tee, and hopefully there will be a brand new beat pack coming soon as well, which I'm going to start working on very soon. So yeah, stay tuned for those updates. They should be appearing below YouTube videos soon because I've unlocked the merchandise bar, which is nice. That's something that I got for hitting 10k. So anyway, yeah, let's get into these mixing tips. So the first thing that I want to say is, again, this is a very primitive unit in terms of what you can do mixing wise, and your main friend in this whole side of beat making and the engineering of making beats is going to be your start end level really. Mixing is obviously a lot about getting the levels right, so start end level, that gives you control over any of the pads individually on the SP404SX, and I think on any SP to be honest. You can control the level of any of the samples on there. Except you can't on the 202 actually. That's one of the main really annoying things about the 202. You can't control the levels on each pad, so you have to sample in at the right volume. So yeah, in terms of getting a good mix, the levels are going to be crucial on the SP. So I've got some samples loaded in here on a beat. Very, very rough chops. I just slapped these in for the sake of the tutorial. I'll give my members the link to this sampler if you want to play around with it. So yeah, you can control the levels. Obviously, you want to be getting those levels right. The kick, the snare, and the hi-hat against the sample. You don't want the sample too loud that it's drowning out the drums. You want those drums to really cut through the mix. So one of the ways you can do that quite easily with the SP is just to have your drums a little bit louder than you think you should. I've found in the past that that gives the beat a bit more energy because you're getting the thud of the kick, you're getting the snap of the snare, and that's driving the rhythm of the beat. If that's lost in the mix, you've not got anything to drive your beat along. So I really recommend working with the levels as much as you can, and really it's just something that you'll gradually get better with over time. So the more beats you make, the more you'll find that you start to understand where things should sit in the mix levels wise. So another little tip that I've got for mixing inside the SP is that you've got access to the isolator. So one of the things that I know about in terms of the theory of mixing is if you want a beat to sound full, you need to have sounds at every point in the sort of frequency spectrum. So you need low frequency sounds, mids and highs, and you've only got very limited things that can do that on the SP obviously, because you've got your sample, probably 3 drum sounds, and maybe some fuzz or noise as well. So you have got limited options in terms of spreading those things across that frequency range, but obviously the kick is going to be your low frequencies, your snare is going to be around your mids and maybe towards the high a little bit, and your highs as well are going to be the hi-hats. And basically with the sample, I try and look for something that is like quite thick sounding. So just a piano on its own, for example, can be a little bit thin. You might want to look for a sample that's got that low range in it, that low frequency range, just to fill out the beat a bit more. So yeah, one of the things you can do to pad out a beat if it's not got much bass in it is obviously you can use the Subsonic to sample a bass note and add your own bass using the SP, which is really, really cool. You can also make sure that your kick has got a lot of bass to it, so you can use the isolator to correct that and add a bit more bass to it. Fill out that low frequency range with your kick so that if there is a bit of a lack of bass, at least you've got that low frequency there to sort of drive the beat along a little bit. Again, yeah, snares and hi-hats, they're more towards the higher end of the frequency range, and yeah, you want those to have very little bass, and you want the snare to be cracking through the mix with its high pitchedness, and those hi-hats as well will be high up in the frequency range. They'll be high frequencies, obviously, it's a very high pitched sound, and you'll want those cutting through your sample as well. So yeah, when you're making beats on the SP, you do have to be careful because it's really easy to muddy up your beats, I find. And that's where having the drums a little bit higher in the mix can help with that. If you keep the drums clean but do your lo-fi-ness on the samples, I think that's a good way of approaching beats really. So get the wobbles and the crackles and all that kind of stuff on your samples. Use the drums to be the clean side of it. They're the bit that are driving the beat along, and then have the lo-fi sounds on the actual samples themselves. So I found this a lot, especially when running beats through this as well as an effects unit. You can really ruin the mix by adding too many MFX to it. So if you're working with an SP and Ableton for arrangement, for example, I would suggest running your samples through the MFX first, and then layering your drum beats over the top and having them as quite sort of un-lo-fied, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, you don't want to do too much damage to the drum sounds. You don't want to muddy them up too much. You want them to be nice and crisp and cutting through. Obviously as well, you've got access to these 24 effects and the effects up at the top of the unit here as well. So obviously experiment with those, see how you can use those to get samples and your drum hits to sit in different parts of the mix and fill out your beat. I think obviously the compressor can do a good job of squishing everything together and making a thicker sound. And you've got the noise as well. Like, you can generate noise with this very easily and have that as a kind of layer over your beats to really pad out your beats as well. So that's part of the mixing thing really, is that you're trying to get your beat to sound thicker and full. So things like the MFX 16 noise, that can really help to fill out your beat. Just have that texture underneath. You know, going back a few years in a lo-fi history, every single beat had rain underneath it because it was something that really filled out the sound. So yeah, think about ways that you can use the MFX to achieve that as well. So yeah, as I said guys, full disclaimer, I'm not very knowledgeable when it comes to mixing, and I think they are some of the very primitive things you've got access to when you're making beats on the SP. If I've said anything wrong in this video, I fully appreciate it if you guys can correct me below. I'm all for being told I've said something wrong, because I'd rather people learn the right stuff, obviously. So yeah, if there's anything I've said up until now that doesn't really make sense or I've got a little bit wrong, just leave a comment below, and I'll gladly respond to that and let you know that I've seen it. So yeah, I hope those tips help you guys. Basically, the isolator and the start end level button are probably going to be the main things you use to mix your beats. Isolator to get things in the frequency range at the right points that you want. More bass on the kicks, for example. High notes on the hi-hats to get that balance across the frequency range, and then using your start and level to get all the levels correct as well. And yeah, like I said as well, obviously be careful overdoing it with the MFX because they can completely ruin your mix as well, so watch out for that. But other than that, you know, disregard absolutely everything I've just said, because there are really no rules to music. If you can get a nice sound out of your SP and you're happy with it, then crack on with that. I mean, this is just kind of my personal opinion on how to make beats sound that little bit better. But if you've got a formula that works for you, don't feel as if you need to change anything. I always think it's good to experiment with different ideas though, so maybe you can adopt some of the things that I've said and see what it does to your beat making. So thanks a lot for joining me. I hope you found this useful. Again, if you want to support my channel a little bit more, check out the join button below where you can become a member. Pay a very small amount each month and you get access to exclusive content, discount codes and all that kind of thing. So I'd really appreciate it if you could have a quick look at that for me. And thank you very much to all those people that have signed up so far. I'll be dropping the November vlog very soon, probably next week. So yeah, that'll be the exclusive content for you guys this month. Apart from that, guys, stay safe. It is locked down now, so I hope you've seen the discount codes for my store as well, actually. That's something I have forgotten to mention. 10% off if you're just a regular watcher. Use lockdown10 in the checkout, all caps locked. And members, you've got 15% off, and I've sent you that privately via YouTube. So yeah, if you want to cop anything, get over to my store, spvids.com this month, and for the full English lockdown that we're in again now, that discount will be available. Keep making beats, guys. I'll be back very soon. Peace!